Vanilla is a kind of note that you find in almost every fragrance, sometimes in smaller doses, sometimes in larger doses. Today I will be talking about fragrances that are vanilla-centered, and this selection will be all about vanilla, vanilla, vanilla. And I'm gonna start with a vanilla fragrance that is probably the most hyped on internet. You probably have already guessed that I'm talking about Vanilla 28 of Kayali. I have a separate video comparing Vanilla 28 to Vanilla Royale of Kayali, so I will not be spending too much time going into details of this fragrance. It's very smooth, very sexy and attractive. It smells mostly creamy and not so much vanillic, but like a French dessert that is called crème brûlée. And here I have a special crème brûlée that is made with rum of Guadeloupe. And I think it really describes best what the Kayali Vanilla 28 is. It's just so creamy and delicious and so irresistible. And so is Vanilla 28. But when it comes to smelling it of your skin, it smells a bit boozy and it has a touch of patchouli. And if you don't have enough of patchouli, then you can go to Vanilla Royale. But I'm personally not a fan of Vanilla Royale because that patchouli is more medicinal to me and there's too much of it, so I prefer Vanilla 28. I've already used 3 samples and I think eventually I will have to buy a 10 ml bottle or maybe even a full bottle. The second fragrance that came out just a few months ago, but it's already hyped all over internet, is Vanilla Sex by Tom Ford. And to be honest, I don't know why it's hyped so much. Is it because it has the word sex in it? Or maybe simply because Tom Ford has a very aggressive marketing strategy and they send their perfumes to all influencers, so now everyone is speaking about this fragrance. I just got back from a department store, Galeries Lafayette. There was something strange in there today. They did not put out the bottle, and I actually had to ask for it. It was hidden somewhere in their closet. Unfortunately, they were not willing to share a sample with me, so when they gave me the bottle, I sprayed it all over myself, I got it on a tester, and I'm gonna tell you all I think about it. I'm kind of curious what people think about vanilla sex. Is it something boring, or is it something that is absolutely amazing and lovely just in its simplicity? The perfume opens up with a mix of almonds and vanilla, and you can immediately sense that this is a vanilla-centered fragrance. The note of almonds doesn't last very long, it's overpowered by expanding cloud of vanilla. And when I say expanding, I really mean it, and I think it could be a secret of popularity for this perfume, because it creates a nice cloud around that smells really pretty. Maybe that vanilla sex is not that much vanilla. Maybe it's not a simple sex. Because at the beginning you have some alcohol that might remind you of some infatuation with your sexy subject. Then you have this vanilla, that heart of the fragrance. Sweet, nice, and like all over you. Does not it sound sexy? Honestly, I wouldn't say that it's a sexy perfume unless the idea of sex was put into my mind with the name of the fragrance. This fragrance is super contagious. I just had a blotter in my pocket. My entire coat was smelling like vanilla sex. My entire closet was smelling like vanilla sex. And the next day I was thinking that this is a kind of vanilla that is so unforgettable. It's just a kind of vanilla that despite its simplicity, it really stays in your mind. It has everything in it, but it doesn't have much in it. For example, tonka, it is barely detectable, and I'm glad that it's not very strong, although vanilla and tonka is one of my favorite combinations. Wouldn't need much of a tonka in here. But I have nose that is so sensitive that I've detected something that I really hate in this fragrance. I can still smell it now. This is a note that really lasts very long. It makes me think of walking into a dollar store. You have that strange smell of plastic, rubber. I don't even know what it is. But there's some sweetness in it as well. And this is a smell that I'm getting in vanilla sex. Fortunately, it does not project. It just stays on my skin. and on a blotter as well, so it's not related to my skin chemistry. I don't know if it was purposely done. It refers to safe sex, or maybe it refers to some sex toys, and it's not vanilla sex at all. It doesn't radiate too far, so people around you will get that beautiful vanilla, because the sillage of this fragrance is absolutely amazing and absolutely gorgeous. It will not stay unnoticeable. But the reason I put it into the hate category is that plastic. I just cannot forgive Tom Ford for not making this fragrance perfect and impeccable. Plastic really destroys it for me. While I'm not a fan of vanilla sex, I'm a really big fan of another vanilla fragrance by Tom Ford that is called Vanille Fatale. And this fragrance is a really amazing creation. For me, it wins the prize of the most complex vanilla. Because you know, when you have such a big soup of notes, it's really hard to create harmony. And Tom Ford did achieve that harmony. That fragrance has so many nuances. Something balsamic, something herbal, something maybe leathery, definitely lots of woody notes in here. The amazing thing is that vanilla is still the core. You still feel that vanilla. And to me, once again, these two, Vanilla Sex and Vanille Fatale, are very good examples of old Tom Ford and new Tom Ford. I'm really disappointed in recent Tom Ford creations that are really the best sellers of the brand, so I do get that commercial idea behind it. But as someone who appreciates old Tom Ford fragrances, I am really happy to go back to Vanille Fatale, and I have put it already in my list of the next full bottle purchases. I try not to judge perfumes by the cover, by the bottle, or by the name. But when this one came out, I had a little ick. I was like, Goddess. Goddess is a name I really associate with Thierry Mugler, the Alien series. And that's one of the series that I hate completely, from A to Z. There is something in the DNA of these fragrances that just is so unpleasant to my nose. It sounds so cheap. But then I was thinking, okay, this is Burberry. When it comes to Burberry brand, this is totally the opposite. It's one of the brands whose DNA I really like. There were so many fragrances in the past that I really enjoyed, including Burberry London, Burberry Weekend, Burberry Summer was one of my favorites. Unfortunately, it was just a limited edition. When I tried it, it confirmed my love for Burberry. But I don't see this fragrance as a simple vanilla fragrance. I see this as a floral vanilla fragrance. To me, this has two parts. On one side, we have vanilla that is not very intense, not cloying, not overly bearing, despite that we see vanilla on all three levels of the pyramid. And it really balances out the floral part. And the floral part, surprisingly, reminds me a lot of Juicy Couture. It's another brand whose DNA I really love. So the floral part of Burberry Goddess, which is about 40-50%, is really reminding me of the Juicy Couture composition. Meanwhile, lavender, ginger, and cacao don't make much sense to me. This is not something your nose would ever detect when you just try this fragrance without knowing the pyramid. Nonetheless, I really love Burberry Goddess, and I think it's one of the best fragrances in the cheapie section, and I really, really recommend any vanilla lover of any age trying this, especially because it's not super popular and it's not the kind of fragrance that you smell at every corner. It's kind of underrated, but really, really beautiful. Another fragrance in the cheapie section that is absolutely amazing, especially considering the price, is by Ariana Grande, and it's called Maude Vanilla. I really hate this bottle, really. I keep dropping it all the time, but the perfume itself is such an easy reach. I would not compare it to Baccarat Rouge, but Maude Vanilla acts a bit like Baccarat Rouge. It's very delicate on your skin, but it projects like everywhere, and it has a super long-lasting power. It's very easy, very likable. In fact, it has the highest rating on Fragrantica out of all vanilla. This would go in the section of a floral type of vanilla. There's something lactonic, something airy, probably more sugary than vanillic in fact, or more like a vanillin that we use for cooking. But it doesn't make it bad. In fact, I like how this sugar is mattified. I like how it sits on my skin, how it radiates. And this is probably one of the best examples of using Ambroxan. You know, I often complain about Ambroxan and I really dislike modern amber masks most of the time. I do feel it in here, but really tiny bit, like in Baccarat Rouge. It doesn't destroy the perfume for me. Meanwhile, don't have high hopes for the notes that are listed. You wouldn't get any orris or plum in here. It's just sugary vanilla with some generic floral undertones. And now going to dislikes in vanilla section. One of the fragrances that I've been disliking for a very long time is Vanilla Vibes by Juliette Has a Gun. I know a lot of people have it in their list of top fragrances for vacations because it's supposed to smell like sea and salty skin and suntan, yet it's supposed to have that sweetness of vanilla and vacation vibe. No, that's not how it smells to me. First of all, I'm not a lover of salt. Anything that is reminiscent of salty skin makes me think of sweat and just makes me want to wash myself. And second, the combination of vanilla and salt makes me think of a basement, rotten, molded surfaces. I don't know. The second reason that I dislike Vanilla Vibes is Ambroxan. Juliette Has a Gun was one of the first brands that was using Ambroxan as a base, and that became a reason I dislike many of their fragrances. But Juliette Has a Gun was not using Ambroxan to the same extent that it's being used in the perfumes of the recent years. And the other two vanilla fragrances that I hate really overuse Ambroxan in their base to the point that it just dominates the entire fragrance. One of them is Vanilla Supermassive by Les Eaux Primordiales. This fragrance has been already included in the list of many perfume bloggers, but if you've tried it, you probably were already confused. Where is vanilla? The thing is that at the beginning, the perfume already has a lot of bitterness, and that is a bitterness of bergamot and Ambroxan. Ambroxan usually is a base note. Here it comes out very quickly. Sometimes Ambroxan can come out as a cedarwood in a softer way. Here it comes out as a fir resin. And a mix of fir resin and bergamot really dominates the fragrance for about an hour or so. Vanilla kind of passes by somewhere on the side. I cannot say it's totally not there, but it is barely there. It's certainly not what I would expect from a fragrance that is supposed to be an extrait, and it's certainly not a fragrance that reveals the full beauty of vanilla. The next perfume I hated even more than Vanilla Supermassive, and the reason I hated it even more is not only because they use and overuse this amber mask or Ambroxan or amber something, but also because they don't reveal it. If you look at the pyramid, if you look at the description, if you look at the pictures of the marketing campaign, you will see lots of vanilla and sandalwood, and you think, wow, this should sound really lovely. The name vanilla powder gives you really beautiful scent in your imagination. And then I have it on my blotter 30 minutes later, and you know how it smells? This smells like a really intense amber musk combination. I'm still trying to dig out more information about these modern ambers that are a kind of combination of amber and musk. Ambroxan is just one of them, but some of them are much stronger and are very often used by Italian brands, including Tiziana Terenzi and Giardini di Toscana. There they really use a very good dosage, but they do disclose all these elements in the base as amber, musk, patchouli, cedarwood, sandalwood, fir resin, sometimes birch tree, sometimes vetiver, and tonka. So here vanilla powder does not have any of this in the base, except for sandalwood, but you barely smell any sandalwood or any wood. The smell of this amber mask is so strong that I'm even thinking that this is a amber supreme, which is like a stronger, more powerful version of Ambroxan. But once again, I'm just learning about these modern ambers. I cannot, don't take this for a pure coin, but be aware that this is not vanilla. Another vanilla perfume that goes into the hate section is coming from the collection of Acqua Allegoria by Guerlain, and it's called Bosca Vanilla. It came out in 2023. To be honest, I have never been a big fan of Acqua Allegoria collection. To me, they are way too delicate and they disappear too quickly considering the price. But they do claim to have the best ingredients. Unlike other Aqua Allegoria fragrances, Bosca Vanilla is very tricky because it's not linear, it has some kind of surprise. For me, that is vanilla that is broken into two different parts. The first part is a nice vanilla, kind of the way I like my vanilla, but with the notes that are bitter, kind of herbal bitter note. And I was thinking about mugwort. In the description it says eucalyptus. I don't really recognize it as eucalyptus, but in any case there is something that is herbal bitter. And that herbal bitterness disturbs my nose, and I don't pay attention so much that this vanilla is supposedly solar and happy. And then I'm wondering, like, what is going on? It's changing again in a kind of direction that I really dislike. And that note that starts crawling in is a note of salt. And that's why it made me think a bit about Juliette Has a Gun, because once again we have the combination of salt and vanilla, and this is not a combination for me. And when I said that this fragrance is tricky, is because that salt comes in much later. So if you're a kind of person who sprays a fragrance and makes a decision in 1-2 minutes whether you want to buy it or not, be careful with this one. I really recommend wearing it all the way till the dry down, till the very last note, to see if you like it. Meanwhile, I really like vanilla from the collection L'Art et la Matiere. And in here we have vanilla extract with a concentration of at least 30%. And the fragrance is called Vanille Planifolia. It is kind of pricey, very pricey, but it is Extrait de perfume and it will last you literally all day. It's also really good for layering if you like your fragrances to be more vanillic and long-lasting. If you ask which vanilla fragrance takes number 1 place for me, this is Vanille Planifolia. I don't know if I'm ready to spend 500 euros to buy a full bottle, so I'm using it just little by little on very special occasions when I'm in my vanilla mood. But if you are very picky and if you are searching for the best vanilla out there, try it out. It's really worth it. There are still so many vanilla fragrances I would like to talk about, so I decided to make part 2 of this video, and I will not be talking so much about love and hate perfumes. I will be talking more about different kinds of vanilla. For example, I will touch upon the subject of warm vanilla and cold vanilla. I will tell you about my favorite vanilla fragrances for men, and I also would like to ask for your help. If you could let me know what your favorite vanilla fragrances are, maybe I would include them into my video. Stay tuned.